Before humans, before even the first dinosaurs, Earth was alive with creatures unlike anything we know today. To understand their world, we must travel back through 500 million years of history. Oceans were the first cradle of animals, then swamps, then forests, and finally open plains. The creatures that lived in these ancient realms were not just curiosities, they were the architects of the future. Each age was a stepping stone, shaping the path toward the animals of today. This is the story of life rising, falling, and reshaping itself across deep time. Our journey begins over 500 million years ago in the Cambrian period. The planet was almost unrecognizable. No trees, no grass, no animals on land. Life was concentrated in the oceans, and then, suddenly it changed. This event is called the Cambrian explosion, a rapid burst of evolution that produced body plans we still see today. Trilobites scuttled across the seafloor with segmented shells and compound eyes. Anomalocaris, one of the first apex predators, swam powerfully through open waters, seizing prey with spiked appendages. Other creatures looked like nightmares made real: Opabinia with 5 eyes, Hallucigenia with spikes down its back. For the first time, ecosystems of hunters and prey took shape. Hard shells evolved, eyes improved, and the pace of evolution accelerated. Nearly every modern animal group traces its ancestry to this single surge of life. By the Silurian period, life was stabilizing after earlier extinctions. Oceans were ruled by early fish. Most had no jaws, only round mouths for sucking in food, yet they were already shaping ecosystems. Coral reefs, for the first time, spread across shallow seas, forming havens of biodiversity. But life was no longer confined strictly to water. Simple plants crept onto damp shorelines, forming green patches along rivers and lakes. Soon after, arthropods followed. Fossil trackways showed that scorpions and millipede ancestors were among the first animals to explore land. These pioneers were small, but their steps marked a turning point. For the first time, the boundary between sea and land was crossed. The stage was set for vertebrates to follow. The Devonian period is often called the Age of Fishes, and with good reason. The seas swarmed with diversity. Jawed fish exploded onto the scene. Some, like the armored placoderms, became giants. Dunkleistus, one of the largest, grew longer than a bus and could snap its jaws shut with enough force to crush bone in an instant. Alongside them swam sharks in their earliest forms, their lineage destined to endure. But the Devonian was not only about oceans. Rivers and swamps became laboratories for innovation. Among lobe-finned fish, some evolved strong, muscular fins that could push against muddy bottoms. Others developed primitive lungs, allowing them to gulp air. These adaptations opened a new frontier. The first amphibians, creatures like Tiktaalik, crawled awkwardly onto land, combining fish-like gills with early legs. In them we see the bridge between sea and land, an experiment that would succeed beyond measure. For the first time, vertebrates were no longer tied entirely to water. By the Carboniferous period, the world looked more familiar. Towering forests spread across continents. Trees rose as high as modern buildings, but without flowers or fruit, only spore-bearing structures. The atmosphere held far more oxygen than today, and that had a dramatic effect. Insects grew to monstrous sizes. Dragonflies with wingspans of over 2 feet filled the skies. Millipedes the length of cars crawled through the undergrowth. Amphibians thrived in swamps, many as large as crocodiles. But one innovation would change everything: the amniotic egg. Reptiles laid eggs that could survive outside water, protected by leathery shells. This adaptation freed them from returning to ponds to reproduce. For the first time, vertebrates could truly colonize land. The balance of power was shifting. During the Permian, reptiles diversified into an astonishing variety. Among them was Dimetrodon, a predator with a sail-like fin rising from its back. It was not a dinosaur, but a distant relative of mammals. Other strange forms evolved: armored herbivores, saber-toothed reptiles, and early mammal ancestors with differentiated teeth. Life was thriving, but the planet was restless. Toward the end of the Permian, massive volcanic eruptions in Siberia unleashed carbon dioxide and toxic gases. Oceans turned acidic and suffocated. Temperatures soared. In what scientists call the Great Dying, 9 out of every 10 species disappeared. It was the largest extinction in Earth's history, nearly wiping the slate clean. From the ruins of extinction came new opportunities. The Triassic world was harsh, with deserts sprawling across the supercontinent Pangaea. Survivors adapted quickly. Small, agile reptiles diversified into strange new lines. Among them were the earliest dinosaurs, at first modest in size. They were not yet the giants of later ages but were nimble, fast, and opportunistic. Pterosaurs took to the skies, mastering flight millions of years before birds. In rivers and swamps, crocodile-like archosaurs ruled as ambush predators. Mammal ancestors persisted too, small and nocturnal, laying low in the shadow of larger reptiles. The Triassic was a time of experimentation, a proving ground after catastrophe. The extinction at the end of the Triassic cleared the way for dinosaurs to dominate. In the Jurassic period, they flourished into iconic forms. Sauropods grew into the largest land animals ever to walk the earth, stretching their necks to feed on treetops. Stegosaurus, with its bony plates and spiked tail, lumbered through forests. Oceans filled with ichthyosaurs and plesiosaurs, predators that rivaled modern whales and sharks. Above, pterosaurs expanded into dozens of species, some as large as small planes. The Jurassic world was one of abundance, where ecosystems on land, sea, and sky were all reshaped by the reign of dinosaurs. The story of ancient animal life is not only about strange shapes and vanished giants. It is about resilience. Time after time, life nearly ended. Yet each extinction was followed by renewal, each loss by innovation. The trilobites, the dragonflies, the dinosaurs, all were chapters in a story that continues. When we see birds in flight or mammals thriving across the globe, we are looking at the survivors of countless ancient worlds. Evolution is not a straight path but a winding journey. And that journey is still unfolding today.